All right, Dave Kennedy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you? It's
I'm
Friday.
good. So, unfortunately, the divorce rate is like, what is it? You said it's going up, right?
It's skyrocketing. Yeah, I think the pandemic maybe just having people right on top of each other,
They
they're
just need a
going,
bigger house, man.
yeah, exactly. Just call Team Synergy and get a bigger house and
I
each
always
have your own
said if I
wing.
was going to get married again, my husband, well, I would live like down the street from him, like close
Yeah,
enough to walk, but
right.
like not live together. I don't
Yeah.
know. Is that weird?
No, I mean, whatever works, right? Whatever keeps you married, I guess. So,
I guess.
yeah.
But I mean, so you are with Fidelity Land Title, so you do the
Hmm.
title side of things. So
Right,
what happens in a divorce from like a title perspective if
right.
let's say there's one spouse that's going to keep the house
Hmm.
um but there's not enough money to like pay out the other spouse or
Yeah.
yeah, what happens?
Yeah, so title to a property, is kind of like title to anything. You have this ownership, and you both have ownership interest in Ohio. We have something called Dower. So, essentially, when you're married and you own a property, you each have interest in that property. So when you get a divorce, you have to extinguish
I'm sorry, can I
that
back up
Dower.
real quick? Is there
Mhm.
ever a case in Ohio, because even if it's only in one person's name, they
Mhm.
both have the rights, correct?
Correct. Correct. Yeah. So as soon
Okay.
as you get married, you have that interest in that property. And so when you get a divorce, typically you want to extinguish that interest in that property. So if one person is staying in the house, a lot of times, most of the time when you get a divorce, you have attorneys involved and your assets are addressed. And you usually say, so and so is keeping the house. And then it'll
Right.
say whether the other person's being paid or not being paid
Or
or
have
if
to
there's a change.
refinance or something like
Exactly.
that.
So
Okay.
typically, if one person's keeping the house, they're going to kind of require the other person to refinance that property once the other person has extinguished their interest. So typically, we'll have people come to us and say, hey, I want to do what's called a quit claim deed where I'm just giving up my interest in the property. We usually suggest that people still use a limited warranty deed to warrant cover, the coverages, the deed covenants to the other party. But yes, we'll do a deed that transfers the property from one person to the next person. So,
But if
extinguishing
they
that.
do that, they would still be on the loan until the
Mhm.
person refinanced.
Right. Yeah. So the
Okay.
loan that you originally take out has both of your interest in it. Again, in Ohio, you have Dower interest. So the bank doesn't want to have somebody that is no longer have interest in the property. So the bank's going to say you need to refinance and put it in just in your name. Now, if you're doing this while your divorce is still going on, your spouse typically still has to sign on that mortgage.
Okay.
If you wait until after your final divorce decree is signed by the judge, then just whoever the party is that's getting the loan can sign. So that's always, kind of a thing that pops up a lot. People
Yeah.
are getting split up. One of them's buying a new house and they're saying, why does my wife still have to sign? Or why does my husband still have to sign? Well, until your
You're
judge
official.
signs that actual divorce decree and has it, a public record there, then your spouse still has to sign. Now you're not taking on, you're not signing the note, you're not taking on responsibility for that mortgage. You're just releasing your Dower interest in the property. The
Oh,
thing,
okay. I
the
was
thing
wondering
is,
what they were signing. I'm like,
yeah,
who would
yeah,
sign that?
the mortgage, but not the note. Your note is the promise to repay the loan to the bank, and the
Okay.
mortgage just makes that of notice. So we usually suggest if you can wait until after your final decree is signed, whatever then your divorce says, as far as transferring the property, one way or another. There are instances where someone will say, so and so gets the house, but I need to get paid $40,000 for it, and they'll
Right.
put something of record that just says, hey, I have a lien, I was married to, her and she kept the house, but I have a lien of $40,000. And if she sells the property, I need to
Yeah,
get paid.
because that would be an instance where maybe like the spouse that's living there can't really
Can't give you the
refinance it.
money.
Maybe they change the jobs or
Hmm.
something happened, right? Where they can't refinance it, but
Right. Or the rates
they
have gone way up and you're just being amicable and stuff. Yeah, there's all kinds of different scenarios. And what you can do again is a sense kind of file a lien or put restrictions on that deed that says that if I get, if I sell the property, I need to pay my ex spouse a certain amount of money. So there's all kinds of different things that can happen. The one thing that people in agency just need to keep in mind, that if they're working with somebody with a divorce, you need to find out, is the divorce going to be finalized by the time they sell that property?
Okay.
You know, if you're, because it's just you have an interest in that property until the divorce is finalized.
Right.
Same
Right.
thing is if you're working with with a buyer on the deal and they're splitting up from their spouse, are you fully divorced by the time you buy that house? Because if you're not, your spouse is going to have to sign at the closing. So
Right. There
whether
was
they're
this one time many years ago, like maybe 10, 12 years ago, where I was selling a property and the buyer, oh no, I was selling the property, but they
Mhm,
were separated. But
mhm,
but the male seller said, "Oh no, we're divorced." And I was like,
yeah,
"Okay." So we
right,
went through, we got to the closing table. I literally asked him, because you guys always ask, like, are they married? So
yeah,
I literally asked him, "Are you married?" He's like, "No." We get to the closing and they were like, "No, this was before I knew you." They were
yeah,
like, "Where's the so and so, the lady?"
yeah,
And he was like, "Well, she's not here or whatever because we're
yeah,
separated, not
right,
like,
right,
but you're not divorced."
right,
So now I start asking, like, are you legally married?
right.
Because I was like, oh my
Mhm,
God, dude, I asked you like twice. Like, you
yeah.
are still married, man.
Well, and we run into the scenarios too where the spouse could be even in a different country.
Right.
People that
Or
have
in jail.
relocated.
That
Yeah.
happens too.
And yeah, well, we've done notaries at jails before, so that can get done. That's, believe it or not, at least if they're in jail, we know where they're at. If they're somewhere in Eastern Turkey, like I don't know.
I'll take care of it. I'll
I
go
was gonna
visit
say,
and take care
maybe
of
that
it.
could be a new business for you. You can track down estranged spouses to sign deeds
But
across
only
the
in
world.
specific countries that I want to visit,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right, right. Depending on the time of the year and whatnot. So.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, but the
Well,
bottom line is it's just complicated. Divorces are can be messy.
yeah.
Even if you've got amicable divorce, you just need to be aware that with real estate, there's a little bit more that needs to go into it, and you just need to take your time and just make everybody aware of what the situation is. The
Right.
worst situation that we're put in is, like you said, is somebody's not being honest with us or even
Or their
lying on their loan
perception
application.
of they feel like they're
Yeah.
divorced because
Or
people, but they're not really,
yeah, or they're like really far into the case and they even have an agreement between the two lawyers. Until the judge signs the decree, it's
You're
not
married.
finalized. You're married, and everybody needs to know about it in a real
Yeah.
estate.
But you're saying that's like Ohio has the Dower
Hmm.
rules.
Yep.
Because you operate in other states,
Right.
do the other states have the same type of rules?
Specific states have different rules. For the most part, Dower has kind of gone away. Dower was like something from a long time ago that for the most states have gotten rid of their
What
Dower
does it mean
laws.
exactly?
So it just again just says that your spouse has an interest
Right.
in your
Okay.
properties and they have rights to that. And like I said, most states have gotten rid of it. And there was a pushback, I would say probably 3 or 4 years ago, and there was even legislation in the House in the state of Ohio to abolish dower interest. But I guess it never panned out, or.
Whatever.
So
Yeah.
it's still here, and I don't know if it'll
But
always be here or what.
if the Dower rights aren't in other states, does that mean, let's say I own a house in my name and then I
Mhm.
get married, my
Right.
spouse then has zero interest in that
Correct.
house?
Yeah. Whoever bought the
Okay.
house, whoever took title. But that's why it's very important in Ohio seeing marital statuses on deeds. Because if we don't see one, then we're left
Ohio is
wondering.
just like so old fashioned, aren't
Yeah.
we? We need to get with
Well,
the times.
get with the times, and
What's
Cincinnati
mine
is.
is mine. What's yours is mine. Those are the, no, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
Well, and like I said, Ohio's got Dower, Cincinnati's got the round table closings. Of course,
Oh,
you know, I don't want to get you started on that, but every even region within the state is different. But yeah, Dower is an Ohio law, and it's
yeah.
something that makes things a little bit more complicated. And a lot of times people don't even know about it. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden it's like, what? I bought this house before I was married. What do you mean?
But it doesn't. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I think, so for your advice, you're saying that if you're dealing with a divorce situation, the question to ask is, one, are you legally divorced?
Mhm. Mhm.
And two, if they're not, will you be by the end of the process of closing or?
Well, will your spouse be willing to help facilitate the transaction?
Mhm.
We see tons of situations where it might even be a tense situation in the room where they don't like, but the other spouse, and once they're explained, like, look, you're not being put on the hook for the loan of this new house,
Right.
but it's just a matter of legal paperwork that you have to sign it. And just like I said, that's the two questions. Is the divorce finalized? And if not, is your spouse willing to help facilitate the closing in
Mhm.
whatever way we need them to?
Right.
Whether that's signing off on a deed, whether it's transferring their interest to the other spouse, whether that's signing a mortgage to get a refinance or signing a mortgage
Whatever.
to buy a house. Are
Yeah.
they going to be willing to help out?
Yeah.
And kind of a crazy story I'll tell you. And you have a 3-day right of rescission on the refi,
Okay.
and there's a situation where wife, or I think it was, yeah, as a wife getting the refinance, so the husband still had to sign because they weren't finalized, signed all the paperwork, and then before 3 days was up, called in and canceled her loan. So so he appeared to be, helpful
Oh,
and everything, but
what
he was
happened?
you have a 3-day right of rescission to back out. So either party can do it. So, I so even when they're saying they're being amicable and willing to help,
Hold your
until
breath for
until
72
the ink's
hours.
dried and the property's transferred, the mortgage recorded, I don't, it's still up in the air. And that's why, you know, it makes it a little bit more complicated.
That makes sense. Well, where does Fidelity Land Title do business? Which states can you
Yeah.
serve?
So we can do all the surrounding states here in Ohio. We're in Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So anywhere that you need help there, we'd be glad to work with you.
And
Uh,
what's the best way to get a hold of you?
the best way to reach out to us is via our website, fidelitylandtitle.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Happy Friday.
See ya.